Parks and Recreation meeting to order. I'll turn it over to Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening. The first item on the agenda is election of a chair for term of 2 years in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 4, Section 2-132, subsection C4.
Make a motion to Bob Jackson as chairman, Parks and Recreation Committee.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor?
The second item on the agenda is discussion of the changes to the special events permit guide. I presented these last month, and Councilman Jackson had requested that we put out a survey. I did that. I emailed that survey result out to you. Overall, we had 9 people who did take the survey, and of those, the majority did support the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the special events permit guide as written here.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll call the planning commission committee to order, planning and development committee meeting to order, excuse me.
The only item we have on our agenda is the election of the chair for a term of 2 years in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 4, Section 2-132, subsection C1.
I make a motion. Nominate Richard.
So I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. That's how you do it, guys.
Keep it moving.
Yes.
Okay, calling the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. And I would like for us to make a motion. Well, no, we'll do number 8.
I will make a motion that we go ahead and elect Councilman Mack, Chair of Public Safety for the next 2 years.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we will have item number, what is it, 2 on here?
B.
B, discussion on amending ordinances regarding open burning regulations. And this is a request from Mayor Touchberry and the Somerville Fire and Rescue with Chief Melcher.
Yes. So a while back, we were contemplating putting out a burn ordinance. We don't get a lot of calls for burn complaints. We do periodically through different seasons or whatever. But we haven't had a lot of pushback. You know, if we do have a complaint, we go and address it. We don't really get a lot of pushback. So as far as the the burn ordinance, I'm kind of indifferent. I could see if we got an abundance of calls, but we really don't. And we don't really, like I said, we don't really get a lot of pushback from the citizens. So it's really up to you guys. If we had one, it would give our guys a little more backing. If they did run into an issue in the street, they can advise the public that we do have a burn ban, burn ordinance. It really doesn't restrict them any more than what's going on now. We allow them to burn basically what's already in this regulation. So I'm like I was talking earlier, I'm kind of indifferent on the situation. So
I'd like to ask the mayor how, wasn't it a constituent that came up with this request?
It was a constituent, and when I mentioned it to our administrative staff, they indicated that there are areas that have burn ordinances that are effective. I want to reiterate what the chief said. This may have been the second time someone had mentioned this to me, and it was because of a neighbor burning a lot of their yard debris. It wasn't a fire pit. I certainly don't want to get into defining what a fire pit is. So if we don't have, but maybe 2 times, and if other council members haven't heard of anything, I say we lean on the chief's suggestion of people have been very responsive and respectful to our folks when they come out and mention it. And we'll just tell them to please call the fire department if they have concerns with a fire getting out of control.
Yeah, I'm certainly not in favor of creating new ordinances where they're not needed, and I would prefer to lean on the discretion of the fire department as to, sometimes people do burn plastics or tires or whatever. I think that's a whole different situation than burning your yard debris or like in my case, I have a fire pit that I use quite regularly. So if it's an ordinance that's not necessary, I just prefer we let the fire department continue practicing, using their discretion on that.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm gonna chime in, and I'm gonna say something a little bit different. So I have had several people to come to me over the last 12 years asking, first of all, they've had neighbors that have been burning other things other than their leaves. So meaning trash, or they think sometimes maybe electronics. I don't know if that can burn or not. But they feel that the smell is different, and it bothers their breathing. And so I've gotten many complaints. I've told them what to do, call the fire department. And I think a lot of these people, they don't call because they don't want their neighbor to know that it was them that called. I do feel that we need something in place that nothing other than leaves, or, small twigs, wood, or whatever can be burned. And I feel that even we should have at least one day of the week that there's just no burning. And I would think that that day would be Sunday. But I'd like to see something written up, at least that people know, people that have breathing problems, they know that maybe on that one day they can go out and enjoy themselves and the neighbors are not burning.
yes, ma'am. If you don't, yeah, if someone does call that does have a breathing issue, and we do advise whoever the complainant, not the complainant, but whoever's burning, we do say, hey, there was a complaint in the area. Someone does have a medical condition. We'd ask you to put it out, and almost every time they're willing to do it. So like I said, it's really up to you guys. But yeah, and I can definitely go either way. So.
Thoughts? I'd like to make a motion that we send this up to full council for discussion if we should have something formally written up.
Sure.
So do I have a second?
I second it.
And you want to call for the vote?
Okay, I'm sorry. And we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, and then we have, um,
Ms. Schmidt, I believe you had this on the agenda,
Yes,
discussion of retention ponds and neighborhoods having mandatory fencing around them.
yes, I had asked about this and then I was told that it was possibly going to be on the agenda anyway, because you guys had been thinking about this or,
Well, I didn't know about it till I saw the agenda, but it's okay. I mean,
All
I
right.
got it. So
Okay.
I'm prepared to discuss it with you.
Okay.
What I have seen and what I've looked into, obviously the Department of Natural Resources, they're the ones who permit the building of retention ponds and whatnot.
Mhm.
I think they're up to 10 feet deep, but by law, they have to be 3 foot for like a litorical, for foliage and living things. So 3 feet all the way around it,
Mhm.
but you can drown in a tub. And so that's what we've seen is a major increase in retention pond deaths and drownings with infants particularly. We had one adult that was having a mental episode that drowned in the past 3 years, but we've had probably 5 or 6 infant drownings that my people have had to respond to with the fire department. And I can tell you from my 30 years of law enforcement experience, and I've seen everything you could possibly see, child drowning is probably the worst thing that a police officer or public safety can ever deal with. But a lot of times we're seeing is they're going out of the house unseen. They're chasing a ball into the water. They're wearing a diaper, and the diaper absorbs all the water and takes them down into the water for, where they can't swim. So I can tell you, unrelated, that we are working, and the police department is actually actively working with a group to start some type of swimming awareness program for young children, so that we can teach babies and whatnot how to starfish in the water, and at least they float on their backs until they get to the edge if they accidentally go into the water. But to answer your question, HOAs are the ultimate decision maker for retention ponds, and I think you would have a mixed bag of people just thinking if an established HOA is already in place, and I'm sure they're dealing with this very same question, is who's going to pay for it
Mhm.
and what ramifications are there if we don't do it? What's the fine going to be? Is the fine better and easier than not putting up, $20,000 worth of fence? So I think that's a challenge you guys are going to have to discuss. And the other one I believe is going to be maybe moving forward for all new neighborhoods to have that put into maybe a permit or something. If that's something that can be done through permitting, I have no idea that's considered as part of the drafting and the design phase of retention ponds. But certainly they're there to be pretty, but they are serving a purpose, obviously, and the people want to use them as recreational use for fishing in different neighborhoods and whatnot. But unfortunately, when there's water, there's going to be danger. You're going to have pools, you can have pool drownings, you're going to have retention pond drownings. Chief?
I mean, really not much more I can say other than we're working with the YMCA as well with the summer program for the water rescue team.
Mhm.
I think education on our side as far as public safety is what's key with this. Obviously, the fence would provide safety, but we're not going to prevent all of them. I mean, there's swimming pools and everything too. But I think as far as public safety, the education piece is what's probably the most important and what we can do on our end for sure.
I think that's great. Yeah, I was just wondering if other municipalities had something. I know,
We
between,
can dig in on that and discuss it if you like.
Yeah.
Future public safety. Discuss.
no, I think that's okay. I wanted to just know more information and everything. And, I did have an email earlier today from a constituent and, he said a lot of things in his email that really made sense about, not having anything around the ponds. And, I think education is number one, with our families. It's unfortunate what happened last month. And I know that it's happened before. And so, hopefully with more education in our town, we can
Yes, ma'am.
prevent
One
this
thing I
from
would say,
happening.
take into consideration is one thing the HOAs are going to look at. If you ever run a landscape company, they hire landscape companies to take care of those retention ponds in most cases. And they're going to be upping their fees when you add fencage there, because they have to cut around all that on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's a heavy vegetation because of the water runoff. So just keep that in consideration as well.
All right, thank you.
I think practically and logistically speaking, requiring fences around detention ponds is going to be a problem. They're expensive. My experience, ponds that have fences around them don't get maintained. In most neighborhoods, a pond is a part of the amenity for someone's backyard. And then if you require a fence, what kind of fence? How big is the fence? Who maintains the fence? Who repairs the fence? I just think that this is, and Chief, I'll agree, there's few things worse in the world than a small child drowning in a pond. But I just think practically speaking, this is an issue that we don't need to be taking up with this council.
Right. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll open up our next committee meeting. And election of the chair for the next 2 years.
I will move to appoint Ms. Kim Gordon as the chair for another 2 years.
I'll second. Okay, we have a nomination, myself. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. Yay.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the discussion on the dam in the pond in Gadsden Manor. This has been discussed previously. It was discussed at our mid-year budget retreat recently. Ryan and I are working on getting quotes from engineering firms and folks, familiar with the dam reconstruction. And so far we've gotten one that was for about 43,000, and it was just the survey and feasibility study. So it didn't include a design or construction. There have been 3 others that we're in the process of talking to and just waiting on, estimated costs from them to see if this is something that we want to pursue with town resources.
Yeah, I'll just add what I stated at mid-year budget, and Councilman Mack and I attended a neighborhood meeting with some concerned residents, since this kind of falls right in the middle of our district. And we feel like there's a strong consensus among the constituents, and we do feel like that the town does need to take responsibility for repairing the dam itself. And that it seems that the town has worked on that dam in its history. So I'd like to make a motion to move this to full council this coming week for further discussion from the professionals on council.
I was going to suggest that what Bonnie told you is all that we are can do right now, is trying to solicit firms to come and give us an estimate on what a study would cost and whether or not, and then decide. We would bring to y'all the firm that we would recommend that you do that. I don't know that there's any action for you to take tonight or even at council meeting, but beyond what you've been told tonight, we don't have any other information to share with you unless there's something that y'all want to share with us as a staff that we can use to move forward.
I'd like to retract that motion for a moment. Can you tell me, we've just got the one bid for the survey and feasibility study right now, right?
Right.
How are we seeking bids, and what manner are we taking?
I have reached out last year to the dam safety program at Department of Environmental Services, and they had a list of recommended folks that are familiar with working on dams in this type of situation. And so we have just reached out to them. and just say, hey, we got this situation. Can you come look at this and let us know what you think? We're looking for costs. How much will it take to repair it?
And I'll add, our procurement code allows the staff and allows the town to solicit for professional services without having to bid. And so that's why we haven't sent out an RFP or an RFQ or something like that. We're not required to. So that's why Bonnie's just been soliciting from firms that were recommended to us by DES who they would say, hey, have those folks come and take a look at it and give you a preliminary cost to do a feasibility study. So.
And what is the amount? Is it up to 50,000 that we can spend through our procurement?
So we can spend up to staff can spend up to $50,000 without having to go to bid, but for professional services, that's exempted entirely. I mean, we would obviously bring to you who we would recommend for a contract, but we're not required by the ordinance to do that for professional services, that's what this would be considered. But we will bring that to you.
For the purchase order, you would have to get approval from council over 50,000.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. That's right. But
Not-
doesn't
not-
matter
doesn't
what
have
it
to
is.
be
We're going to
right.
bring it to you and
Right.
say, hey,
Yeah.
this is the one we want.
Okay.
We would
Yeah.
recommend that you have,
Yeah.
take a look at and do the feasibility study. So-
And if we move this to full council, can council not go ahead and proceed with approval for the survey and feasibility study?
Of the one firm that we've gotten a quote from, you could, but we're trying to solicit to see if we can find a lower bidder than 43,000.
Do you think by Thursday we can find another bid?
We won't have that before Thursday. Yeah. We're trying to schedule these engineering firms to come and actually stand on the dam and assess the situation in the field.
So do you think you have something by next month for our
I would
committee
hope so.
meetings?
Yes. Yeah.
By next month.
Okay, do we need to make a motion to get this then on the next agenda so it doesn't continue to take a lot of time and we can make a decision and move on with it?
Well, as I said, we'll have hopefully a couple of bids or a couple of proposals, and we will bring to you those proposals at next month's council meeting or at the next finance committee meeting, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
Next month. That's our hope. That's our intent.
So,
Not next committee meeting, but next finance meeting.
well, yeah, all the same.
Next
same time,
month,
Yeah.
next month's finance committee meeting.
Okay,
Yes,
that's right, because it's all.
not
okay.
Thursday, not the
So-
Thursday council meeting.
But our mid-year budget or our budget meeting though is going to be before that next council meeting.
Correct. February 26th. That's right.
Do we not need these bids in order to put them into the budget?
Well, we've been dealing with this as a current fiscal year matter to this
Mhm.
point, and I would assume that this expense would come out of the current fiscal year.
Well, so
So now, what they will do, what we would hope and expect is that whoever we choose will get to you before the end of the fiscal year, before you adopt the fiscal year 27 budget, a sense of how much it will cost to make the repair. So we need the feasibility study first. They need to come and look at it and do the engineering. And hopefully by that point, toward the end of the fiscal year, the current fiscal year,
Right.
we'll have a sense of how much it's going to cost.
So right now, we're just figuring out how much it's going to cost to do the study.
Correct.
We're not even getting into how much it's
We're
gonna cost
trying
to do the
to, we're
repair.
trying to get somebody to come tell us what they think is wrong with it.
Right.
And they can't do that until they put their hands on it and walk around it and dig into it and
Yeah.
x-ray it and whatever it is they do. And then they will give us a price for how much they think, or they will give us a price for a potential design for a fix.
Right.
And then we would have a sense of how much it might cost if that's the fix that we go with. So this is step one in
Ugh.
many that will extend into fiscal year 27.
Just get a dump truck, dirt.
And well, I mean, if you wanted to move forward to full council for Thursday night, a discussion about whether or not you want to continue to pursue this, that's a discussion we would benefit from. But to this point, we've just been moving forward as if your intent as a council will be to address this issue.
I'd like the input from both of the engineers on council on this matter. So I'd like to make that motion to move this discussion on to full council on Thursday.
Okay, I'll second that.
Yes. Second.
Oh, can I second it?
Yep.
Well, we have a first and second, all in favor of moving it to full council for discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. C,
Right. The next item is discussion on Sumter and Laurel Street intersection improvements. And this is a carryover from what I brought to the committee in November of last year. Just making that intersection a little safer. Right now, it is an open Y. And so we would plan to take away some asphalt. As you can see in the rightmost image, and then make that a four-way stop. I also think before we had a three-way stop, maybe keeping that traffic coming from Central to not stop. But then after we thought about it, so we might as well, make it a four-way because that would be confusing.
I like this.
So it's really just, now I think the next step, we plan on doing it in-house. So
Like that
I
too.
got some preliminary costs from our streets department. He thinks, materials, $5,000 for, the concrete and the striping and new signage. And, about 2 weeks of staff time.
What do you need to move forward?
I think just,
A nod?
it's just y'all's blessing that,
just for your information.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yeah.
This is a great project. I'm excited to see us doing it in-house and with our staff and
Okay.
they do great work. They've done some other stuff like this before and I'm excited about getting this done. That's an intersection that needs a little TLC.
Yeah.
With the amount of, it's got a lot of cars that travel it these days too, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. I just wanted the confirmation before we did start going out there and
How long-
doing work.
How long did you say it'd take?
They estimate 2 weeks. I don't know. I hope they'll be able to devote, a lot of time
Right.
to it. Maybe start when the weather's looking good, so they won't have to
when do you
take
estimate
breaks.
maybe they'll get started?
Um,
Before
It'll-
Flower Town
Yeah,
Fest?
so it's kind of my only concern too, is getting it done before festival. And if not, maybe postpone until after.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that would be a mess to be in the middle of that. And
Can we put temporary stop signs up if we don't get to it before Flower Town Fest? Some type of something temporary that at least would help with that.
I don't, it would have to be in the middle of the pavement.
yeah.
I don't,
Or maybe we
Could
can
do
just
some
ask them to
restriping.
prioritize it before the Flower Town Festival.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Wait till
Only a
after the
month,
Flower
maybe,
Town
month
Festival.
and a half.
Right about 2 months, a month and a half out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
definitely
3
wanted
months.
to get it done sometime in the spring or summer because Sumter Street is one of the roads that is set to be resurfaced in our next resurfacing package.
Oh.
And so then, and that is estimated they'll probably get started this fall.
Mm.
So, as long as the reconfiguration's done before then they can come back with a nice smooth, top coat.
All is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you don't need anything from us really? 'cause
No,
We
just-
had already talked
just
about
got-
it before. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
All right. The next is notification of speed limit reductions on SCDOT roadways in the Somerville Heights neighborhood area, including Mary Street, Parkwood Drive, and others. This is also a bit of carryover from the December meeting where Mary Street, it was marked at 30 miles per hour, and that seemed a little high for that type of street. And I reached out to DOT and they said, well, we're not just gonna look at one street, we're gonna look at the whole area. And so they have finished that. And this was their recommendation that group of streets right there, they reduced the speed to 25
Mhm.
miles an hour.
Yeah, thank you. And they've already got the signs up too on Mary Street. And it's much appreciated you and them taking care of that. That's a big help. It's a little quick through there, Golf Road and all of them. That's,
Yeah.
and they're much more traveled roads than they were at one time. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
So, okay, so it's just,
Kudos.
whatever, yeah. Just
So
let y'all know.
they are gonna do the whole network there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And they've already. they've already done it.
Everything that's circled in red there, and they have, because I drove by it too and saw where the new signs were up. There is several town roads in that
Mhm.
area, and they provided recommendations, which after looking at it, it was remove, we had too many speed limit signs up. And so
Yeah.
I thought, if they're already up there, why
Yeah, let's don't take
remove
down.
it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the town roads, unless we hear otherwise, they're 25 miles an hour. There's even a 15 on Waring Street where it's one way.
Right.
Well, I guess both sides of Waring, or
Yeah.
even the two-way section on that portion, but
That's great.
so, all right.
Got to win there.
Yes. All right. The next item is discussion to take over a portion of Parkwood Drive from SCDOT.
Yeah, this is on me. Still meddling around a little bit with this. The main thing I want to just get into here is trying to do something to make that curve a little safer. I know they came in, they put some 15-mile-an-hour speed zones in there. And I'm not a road expert. I'll be the first to tell you. I dabbled a little bit in public safety for a few years, but so I got a little hand in that. But I just feel like that there's something that we need to do there. There was a traffic accident there about 2 weeks ago that was pretty bad accident. I heard from a number of the neighbors after that accident. So we just feel like something needs to be done. If it takes us taking over a portion of the road to make it happen, then I'd be in favor of that. We do a lot of the maintenance on that road anyway. I know we actually paid for the sidewalk to be installed on that road several years ago. That runs from Golf Road to Central. So that was just the discussion I wanted to do. The main thing I'm trying to do is whatever we can do to get the stop signs installed in that area. Now, of course, we can discuss if we want to close Dorn's Way off on our side and eliminate that three-way stop there and put a four-way at Simmons and Parkwood at that intersection. I think we already own Dorn's Way, so it's that's an option too. And I know that's at one time, Amy, y'all were talking about making that as a parking area for the pond in the park as well anyway. So maybe that's something we could look into there. So I just know if we do take a portion of it, maybe from Simmons, if it's even possible to do a small section from maybe Shepherd to Simmons of the road, or if we have to take the whole road or whatever. I'm just looking for some feedback from you guys on that, from you and staff on that. So
I would recommend if we're gonna take over a roadway, it'd be the entire
yeah.
length of it, because it would get confusing.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
In the future.
Okay. Well, we are gonna, I'd like to have another discussion or two with you and, maybe a rep from DOT or someone before we push this forward to council. So if y'all don't object, we'll sit on this for another month and come
Okay.
back to you.
That sounds good.
But we just do need to take some action, and we need to get some action on that in that area one way or the other. So
And is it,
I'd like to do it the right way, the DOT way. I'd like to have a chance to have another discussion before we take any action on council.
was the recent accident, because I'm not familiar with what direction or.
It was actually in between where we requested the two stop signs. It was between Dorn's Way
Vehicle?
and the two vehicles went head on right there between Dorn's Way and Simmons Avenue, more or less.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I'm, thinking maybe more police enforcement to keep,
Yeah. And-
people going slow.
Was it a DUI? Yeah. Yeah. And I know Chief, they worked that road a good bit because I see them out there. They're at Shepherd, no, they're at Germantown and Parkwood quite a bit. And they do work it pretty hard, but
Okay.
it's I guess it's kind
We
of like
can
burn
look at-
ordinance earlier. If we have an order, just because we have an ordinance doesn't mean somebody's gonna obey it. And I know the stop sign, we can say the same thing. And I'm not assign any blame or anything. I was around public safety enough to know you can't do that when you have an incident like that. You can't just say, well, that could have been prevented, but because, you know, there's a DUI, so they might not stop the stop sign anyway. So there's too many what ifs there. I would never do that, but I think that, we just need to do something there.
Okay, we can look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk more. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so what's next?
Next item is discussion of changing the speed limit on Bear Island Road. This has come up before. My office, you know, gets calls about it. Why is it 25 miles an hour? It's so slow. And, you know, it's just like, it is what it is. And then I just want to bring it to council. So hopefully, because it will not go away. So hopefully we can make a decision. But from looking into this, what I have seen, Bear Island Road was built after Weatherstone was developed. And as you can see from that picture, I mean, it was always planned, but you know, the residents of Weatherstone, you know, we're used to the condition of how it was, and the road wasn't going through there. And it was before exit 197 was constructed. So the next in interchange, and before that had been built, and North Maple Street extension. So all that was woods. And then I remember there being a lot of discussion of there's going to be this major highway running through our neighborhood. And, you know, just a lot of concerns about folks coming directly off the interstate, coming through the neighborhood. So right, you know, when it was built, it was originally posted as 25 miles per hour. I mean, it was designed with, you know, a complete streets design where pedestrians and cyclists were considered. You know, there's a wide sidewalks on both sides, high visibility crosswalks at all the intersections. And then there's the flashing, rapid rectangular flashing beacons at the intersection there at Holiday Drive and Bear Island near the amenity center. So, you know, there's really the 4 access points right there too. And 25 miles an hour is a standard speed for residential roadways that have, you know, a lot of driveways, you know, accessing them. And, you know, there is going to be your kids, your children playing. But this road, it's a boulevard design. I went out there several times last week and said, I'm going to drive 25 miles an hour. And it was extremely difficult to stay 25 miles an hour. So the police department is conducting another speed study. One was done in 2021 that had 38 was the, you know, average, you know, 85th percentile speed. And from what I see, 35 being a perfectly reasonable, you know, design or, you know, speed limit for that type of road.
So I hear from both sides. I hear from people traveling this road that say, why do I have to drive so slow, that are cutting through? And then I hear from the residents that live there, and they are very much against any increase in the speed limit. They say that, you know, to access the amenity center, you have to cross that road. There's lots of children crossing the road to go to the playground and the pool. And so from my constituents, I'm not in favor of raising the speed limit.
Were there any of the people that live in the neighborhood that reached out to you about raising it?
I don't know if they live in a neighborhood or don't live in the neighborhood. I know some folks that do, and they do not drive 25 miles an hour on it, but.
And I don't know if this is true or not. You could probably verify it, but one of the residents in the neighborhood told me they thought there was an agreement between the town and the developer at the time that was the agreement that the town made to keep that.
Keep a road 25 miles
Yeah.
an hour.
and you know, this is just hearsay, I don't know, but maybe we could verify that. That was mentioned to me by a resident.
I have tried to find, I've heard that as well and have not found.
Well, if
Anything.
I remember correctly, maybe Bob can remember, they wanted raised sidewalks, they wanted a stop sign, not stop lights and all that. And we felt that at this point, we didn't have the money for that and we didn't feel the need. So we said, let's go ahead and make the speed limit lower at 25. Because, you know, they did have a lot of complaints. They did not want this road, the majority of them did not want this road going in. Now, I think many of them are very happy this road is there. I could see they would want to keep the speed limit the same. But I can also understand people that are cutting through. I've gone down that road and it is very hard to go 25 down that road. I don't, and so you're suggesting we go up to 35?
Yes.
And is this just
Or-
a staff decision?
I've tried looking for, you know, all the different guidance of speed limits and it's very subjective almost. I mean, it's 30 or 35 is what this type of road would be considered. You know, you look
Normally,
at one
yeah.
place, it says 35. You know, you look at another place, it's
Mhm.
maybe it might be 30. But, you know, we don't have all the conflict points. You know, there's not, you know, direct access to people's yards right off of Bear Island. You know, the locations where people are crossing are, you know, it's the high visibility crosswalks and, you know, the RRFBs are by the amenity center. You know, we could install more RRFBs.
I would imagine
know.
communities like, say, Cane Bay would have more of a setup similar to this, or even over in Mount Pleasant.
Next to
Not
Boulevard.
where you're crossing a major road to get to the amenity center, like it's part of the neighborhood.
I don't know, there's a lot of new subdivisions and even Cane Bay going through there is very interesting. You have a lot of things where people are crossing those streets. I'd like to see what their speed limits are. I mean, I'm reluctant. I don't know about you all, but I'm reluctant to you know, raise the speed limit. I'd like more information. Have we had any accidents out there?
No.
Oh, yes, we have someone from the, would like,
Renee Isaac, I'm the Weatherstone HOA president.
oh, okay.
And I was asked by several homeowners to attend this evening tonight to discuss this issue because they're very unhappy that you guys are considering raising the speed limit because one, the crosswalk signs that are in this bottom picture here, they do not work. They do not flash at night. People have ran into them. They have run them over. People drag race down this road. So our fear is that if we increase the speed limit more, then they're going to go even faster than they already are. So, and just also on the bottom photo, you can see kind of to the left, that is our amenity center, but right in front of that in a fielded area is our park. So you have lots of kids that cross this main entrance, this main intersection here on bicycles, on foot, on scooters, even parents that walk strollers across the street where this could be a huge safety risk. So, and we've already worked with the police department several times. They actually bring the motorcycle officers out and they sit on the kind of in that field next to the bushes there to the right in front of the amenity center, and they will just pull people over left and right. So speeding is already a problem. Our fear is that if we increase that speed limit more, that it will just be even worse.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. And that's exactly what I hear
Yeah.
from my constituents regularly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't really have an opinion. I'd be honest with you, I've never even ridden on that road. I haven't been on that road since they did the ribbon cutting, but, it's not just, I don't travel that way very often, but I'd leave it to the hands of the representative that represents the district to have a feel for that, but that's
Thank
where
you.
I'm at.
Thanks. I don't either. I think that for now, we should leave it the same. That's my opinion. It'd be nice. I know a lot of times what they do, they already have this middle kind of like island already, but I know in the future, maybe that's something that we can look at is where we have the concrete median right now, that we could actually plant some more shrubs there, and it automatically slows people down a little bit.
How long is that? How long is that road?
It's a mile.
That's right, a mile?
Mhm.
Okay. What's the length, do you know the length of like Sigma Drive or Brighton or any of those? I'm just trying to think of comparable roads in that area, but it's, that are in town. Those are the only two I could kind of come to mind. It is, I mean, it is a nice complete street road, but
Mhm.
again, it's only a mile. I'd like to know primarily if it's residents that use that road or, it's
A little bit of,
little bit
yeah,
of everybody.
because it is a good way to get to, from North Maple to
Over to-
Azalea Square,
yeah.
vice versa. Another route to the interstate than having to get on 17A.
I try to avoid all of them.
So I guess you heard what she said about that one crosswalk, the
Yeah.
signal's not working, so we can go out and
Yes.
take a look at that
Yeah.
and try to get that
That's right.
repaired.
That's good to know.
I guess I would have to know more information, go out there, hear some more statistics and until I'm comfortable with raising the speed limit.
Okay. Well, the
Okay.
police should be done with the speed study they're conducting by the end of the week.
Oh,
So they did a 14-day speed study.
okay.
So we'll
well-
have that information just to see the. average
Okay, well, we can
speeds
talk
and-
about it next
Yeah.
month then and just see what those results
We-
are. And if there's any other thoughts about it then.
If council is really considering raising the speed limit, I think it would be important to survey all of the residents in the neighborhood and get their input before we go raising a speed limit based on recommendations of people that do not live in the neighborhood that use the road the most.
How would we conduct that survey?
I think,
I
I
can.
mean, I think we got the HOA president that's already here, that's already addressed that issue. So I think their voice has
Okay,
been
we'll
heard
be there.
through their HOA president. So,
Okay.
I'm with Kim. I just moved that we get the rest of the details and see if we
Okay.
want to see what kind of science we
That's
can
right.
find to back it up.
Either way, if we want to keep it 25, that's good to know. So
Yeah.
when folks come to me about why is it so slow, it's
Right.
I believe we need to
what to
keep
say.
it 25.
I'd like to hear about the survey though,
Yeah, me
so
too.
we can talk about it next month.
okay.
All right,
That
thanks.
sounds good. All right, thank you. And the last item on the agenda is discussion of parking lot near the pickleball courts on Laurel Street.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of, I don't know, varying conversations, people complain, we've heard it last year, the residents came to us on South Laurel Street about a concern backing out. They feel like they almost hit the cars that are parked there along the park and the pickleball. And they feel like that they have to go into the other lane if there's two cars coming. And then the church complains that people that are using the parks park in their parking lot when they need that parking. And it just seems like everybody kind of is complaining about parking, and there seems to be a little strip of land that I've talked with some of our departments about. You could see right here in the image that we could possibly, do just some limited 10 to 15 parking spaces right there. In that little wooded area. Justin doesn't feel like there's any trees there that he's concerned with. That we would have to do some pipe underground there for stormwater. But I have also heard from the church that neighbors that's concerned with people using their parking lot. And they would consider, they didn't say for sure, but they would consider donating $5,000 to $10,000 toward that, making that a parking lot.
Okay. I
So
think
that's
the
everything.
the first step would be to get some survey of the area to know how much space that we have between the, the pickleball courts and then the property line. And then, of course, the, survey of the ditch and know how big it is, and how much water is going through there. But
I actually think this is a great idea. I know we talked about it, I think, with Parks and Rec when they opened up these pickleball courts, but I know that there is way more, that we didn't know about it. So we need that survey, definitely.
I know that there was some survey done when the Miracle League field was, so I can pull that and see how much, I'm sure the property line was surveyed in the pickleball courts,
Right.
see how much space.
Does
there
our
is.
Parks and Rec person know any information about that? Past information?
We did not do a survey when we
Okay.
redid the courts because we recently.
Right. Okay, because I know at one time, didn't we talk about possibly in the future, putting a few more courts at the back area, but
There's a retention pond in the back and there's significant
Okay.
elevation change as well.
okay, that's what I thought, yeah. Okay. All right,
And I thought to even keep this, affordable, it doesn't have to be paved. It could be more even like a dirt parking area. I don't know,
gravel.
yeah,
Mhm.
of some
something,
sort.
MRAC or whatever. So,
We need to check the UDO to see if it needs to go through the bar. And then also the tree protection board as well, to see what the rules would be. But
Okay.
we've got that in here too, if y'all move forward with that content.
I think maybe just doing a survey and then
To
seeing what
do-
we have, just, do we
To get
truly know what
the
we,
trees
Yeah.
and
we
the
have?
topo and
Matt says, Matt has a survey? Okay, all right.
So we have.
Well, Matt already has a survey, so
sounds
already had
good
a
for
game.
Matt.
I guess we,
I do not know.
Okay. Oh,
Because the survey from 2021 did not show wetlands, but then again, there was no disturbance going on over there, so.
yeah, I'd love to hear more from Councilman Halter afterwards for this, but can we, since we have the survey,
That
then,
survey?
what would be the next steps? Then do we move this to full council for consideration?
I think if you guys have this survey and you know what you can do with it, then
And then,
put together a plan to send to us.
just to see the space between the property line and, no.
Okay,
can look
so I'd like to make a motion to move this to full council for consideration.
Okay.
Let's say,
Okay, so we have a first and second to send it to a full council for consideration. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
All right.
That's it.
move we adjourn.
Second.
Movement for adjourn. Aye. Or
Aye.
vote? Yes.
All right, we have everybody. We'll go ahead and call the Finance Committee meeting for the month of February to order and turn it over to you, Ms. Rhonda.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This is one of those special months. I think we only have 2 of them in the year that the revenues outweigh the expenses. So I hope everybody enjoyed looking at the report for this month. To summarize, our total revenues for the month is just over $15 million and year to date, a little over 25 million. Obviously, the bulk of property taxes came in from Dorchester County during January. Our expenses for the month are just about 5.5 million. Year to date, a little over 32 million. So we're right about our spending plan at 62% of our budget. Our excess of revenue over the expenses is $10.5 million. Year to date, though, we still have a deficit position of 4 million. Obviously, in the coming months with business license renewals, things will continue to improve. Any questions on the summary? For the detail on the revenue, obviously the a little over 14 million came in property taxes. For licenses and permits, almost $500,000, which is really strong. We had some strong activity in building permits for the month. Court fines, right at 22,000. State revenues, 637,000, which included the quarterly payment from South Carolina for aid to subdivisions. Parks and Rec, we had just under $100,000 in revenue for the month. Miscellaneous, right at 150,000, and of course, total for the month just over $15 million. Any questions on any of those particular items? Concerns? Okay. Next is impact fees. We had year to date, we have collected 940,000 in residential impact fees and commercial impact fees, just over 1.2 million for right at 2.2 million. Our expenditures to year to date are still minimal, representing just over $500,000, which is the design from Creech and Associates for the public safety building. I think we just got an invoice from them. They're a little bit late in invoicing us, so we'll get some of those caught up. Any questions on any of those items?
How much did we budget for impact fees income wise? How much did we expect to collect from impact fees?
We didn't put a formal budget together on impact fees. I can't remember what kind of our average was.
So the impact fees are not factored into our regular budget?
No.
Oh.
We have not put together a budget for impact fees as such.
And Rhonda, the reason for that, I think I remember a discussion because you can't count on them and they're inconsistent. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in the situation where we are now, I mean, they're probably not terribly inconsistent. I mean, development in Midtown certainly helps all of that. So in the short term, we can probably predict some of that, and we've got some spending with this Creech and then some with the public safety complex. We do look at some capital expenditures out of there. I mean, so we budgeted as far as that goes, looking at what we might be able to spend out of there. But I haven't put a formal budget together saying we expect X amount of dollars.
And that's more because it's part of the capital improvement plan as well. Is that?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, so essentially we do budget it because with the capital improvement plan or the 5-year plan that kind of lays out items that we could potentially use the impact fees for over the course of that 5 years.
But I can put together some averages and we can do it differently this year.
No, I was just curious. I mean, because 2 million is not an insignificant amount. Just curious what we thought we would collect from that and how that factors into our budget. But
and I think we're almost on a more collect and then spend as far as that goes in general. So looking at what we collected last year or what our fund balance is kind of, and that's kind of what I did because Creech in total was like 3.3 million or something like that. So we knew that was going to absorb most of the municipal funds. The fire money was pretty much all expended at the end of Station 6, I think. So, you know, definitely this fund we need to have some long range plans as far as the new station, the fire trucks for the new station, the eligible expenses, and some of that does come out in the CIP with the impact fee study.
And that's what Tischler Bice is updating for us right now is our impact fee study that we have to do every 5 years. So they'll be presenting those findings soon. And then y'all will be able to craft a CIP based on that updated study.
And that data, just by definition, should give us some of that information too, what they expect, what our expenses are and what they expect to generate in impact fee.
Do we,
Well, I was gonna say, I agree with Rhonda. That's a pay as you go kind of fund right there. You see what you need, what you got available, and then use what you can out of there for eligible expenses.
do we know if that study is going to mention if we had an infrastructure impact fee, what it would look like, or is that going to be taken into account? No. Okay.
Right. Next is hospitality and local accommodations. We collected 482,000 in hospitality funds for the month. Year to date 3.6. We're right on target with what we expect at about 6 million. I think we may end up a little higher than that. Our expenses for the month, the transfer to the general fund was 308,000. Other expenses were 114. So we had a net excess of about 59,000. We're still in a deficit position year to date. That's primarily from our debt payments that happen periodically during the year. That should catch up by the end of the year as well. Local accommodations, we took in about 29,000 year to date, 235,000. We've only spent just under 10,000 year to date in that fund. Any other questions? Hospitality. Lastly is stormwater. Again, we collected our tax fees from Dorchester County. Our revenue for the month was just over 1.3 million and our expenses are just right 211,000 for the month. So our excess for the month was 1.1 million. Our excess for the year is 232,000. Any questions on stormwater? Anything else anybody has concerns on that I can address?
Council members? Nope. Thank you, Ms. Rhonda.
Next is presentation of proposed town collaboration with painting the town project and monetary requests. Requested from Ms. Garden and presented by Somerville Dream.
Mr. Mayor, since we don't have a representative from Dream tonight, I would ask that we would just put this on Thursday night's meeting instead.
All right,
That's a
Madam
motion.
Clerk.
I'll second
Coach,
that.
well, we can add it. It's added.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Item C, discussion on proposed Bailey bill ordinance for incentives on renovation of historic properties. The request from Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, I wanted us to consider a Bailey bill because we've got a beautiful downtown historic district. Jesse, were you gonna talk?
No, I'm just here, once you do your
Oh,
spiel,
okay.
just certain
Okay.
things that I researched and just things we need to consider if we're gonna take it into account.
Okay. And I think I looked at a lot of areas that had it. We've got this nice downtown area, you know, just this week. I've seen 2 different messages on Facebook. Some of y'all probably seen it about buildings looking old or vacancies. And we're gonna always hear that sometimes, so that's no surprise. But I do think there's an opportunity that we're missing, because we do have a historic district, and having a Bailey bill, like some of the areas around us that have historic districts that have a Bailey bill. And I've sent y'all 2 different emails. I've got 2 more that I think I sent you Fort Mill and Beaufort. And I've gotten 2 more, one from Anderson and Greenville, on why they recommend it. And none of them have said they brought in additional staff members. I don't know if y'all read my email that I asked them. They didn't bring in additional staff. They were able to handle it, and they did feel like it was an economic driver. But basically what it does is it freezes the rehabilitation assessed value for 20 years, and that transferable. So if somebody sells the property, it would transfer with it. And maybe homeowners that maybe couldn't fix up the property or don't want to fix up the property because of the taxes. It's really good for small business owners to be able to continue to operate their small business and improve the building. It's not taking money away that a town is expecting, so it's not money like coming off the tax rolls. It's just going to freeze it. So I think it's something really, really great for our town. Of course, I don't see any negative to it. I'm sure that somebody could think of something, but overall, I think it's great for our town. It's even better if Dorchester County participates in this as well. I've reached out to them to try and start those conversations, whether they participate or not. We do, fortunately, and with our in our tax office, there is a separate line for county millage and town millage, so it's easier for us to do, even if they didn't. Whereas Fort Mill complained about them only having 1 millage, so it was more difficult for them. We don't have that problem here.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, any questions? Ms. Scholler, would you like to?
I provided some additional information in your packet, after learning that, Councilman, Johnson Wilson wanted to take a closer look at this. One is obviously questions that would need to be considered if we do want to move forward with this. Certain decisions are going to have to be made because the law, basically gives y'all some leeway in how you want to handle it when you're deciding how to write the Baileyville ordinance. What criteria should be used? Obviously, it says it has to be at least 50 years old and either be on the National Register or in a historic district, but it also gives the ability for y'all to designate other historic structures that may not meet either of those criteria should you choose. And if you choose to do that, obviously you would need to define how those would be eligible. There is a minimum investment required. State law requires at least 20% of the fair market value of the building at the time of preliminary certification to be spent as a minimum investment. I did provide you with a comparison of the cities that I was able to find all the information on as to what most folks do. It appears that most of them do just do the 20%. But there are some that require more, particularly if a property is income producing, income producing or 6%. So even if it's a residential property, if it's being rented out, it appeared that some towns do require more to be spent on those types of properties rather than just someone who's actually, owner occupying a residence. So that would be something that would need to be decided. Should there be a time limit for completing the rehabilitation work? The state law does give folks 2 years. And it does say if you've incurred the minimum required expenditures within the 2 years, then you basically have time to complete it until, whatever time frame we put on it. But, do you want to give them more than 2 years if they haven't met the minimum? I mean, that type of question. Who should certify compliance of the rehabilitation project? Generally, I would think the Board of Architectural Review would be the most likely folks to do it. But if it's something that maybe wouldn't normally require their review, do you want to leave that up to staff? How do you want to handle that?
DRB is who did it in most of them, but yeah.
Well, because we have a BAR separate from our
Right,
DRB,
I understand.
that handles the historic district, which is largely where I would think most of the properties would fall under. How long should the assessment be frozen? State law allows a maximum of 20 years. If you look at the comparison, it's interesting. Some just do 20 years, some do 10. Some do it based on the percentage of expenditures. So the percentage of your minimum investment. So, you know, if it's, I think that was Bluffton was one that did it, and another city did the same way. Like the more you spent, the longer you got a frozen assessment. Do you want to charge a fee for the application? It appeared that most of them did charge a fee, in addition to just the normal review fee for going through the BAR. It appeared most of them charged the same fee. I guess it first municipality that did it probably put a fee on it, and everyone's like, oh, look, they use this fee. Let's just use the same one, because there is a lot of that with ordinance writing. And then another kind of major question, the law also does allow for this to be used for low to moderate income rental property for this incentive. And so do you also want to consider using this for that? If so, should different criteria be used for eligibility? And would you want to establish a moderate housing rehabilitation district? From the municipalities that I was able to find information on, only 3 of those actually did the low to moderate income rental in addition to the historic properties. So that is certainly not nearly as common as the historic property use.
And I will,
oh, go ahead.
I'll add to that. Out of all of the ones that I looked at, I did not see, like she said, the moderate housing rehabilitation district. That wasn't common. And then there was only 2 municipalities with a designated historic district that didn't have the Baileyville, and I think it was Abbeville, or one of the A's. I'm pretty sure it was Abbeville and us. So it is something that people are catching on and starting to do for some economic development purposes.
The only thing I would add is just looking at the numbers, looking at the potential staff time it would take, depending on how many of these we have, and depending on whether the county participates or not. Just personally, I think if the county chooses not to participate, I don't know that it's worth it for us to adopt a Bailey bill. It's not a significant sum of money that would be saved yearly with just our millage. You know, I guess if folks were able to, you know, cobble together different, you know, funding mechanisms, maybe it could make the difference. But I did hear from a couple folks that didn't have the county participating, and they did say it wasn't nearly as much of an incentive because they did not have the county participating. So that is something to consider. Not that it's not worth it to do it, you know, I mean, any incentive could potentially be helpful, but it does sound like it would be much more of an incentive if we could get the county on board as well. And so, and that the thing that Councilwoman mentioned regarding the tax bills, I don't think the issue is the millage being separated. I think it's the assessment, because it's the assessment that gets frozen. So the county doesn't do a separate assessment. So we would probably have to do the same thing Fort Mill does if the county doesn't come on board. And that's, we would have to keep track of the properties that have been approved, certified, receive final certification. And if the county is not willing to do it as well, then we would have to refund them the amount each year that they should get back based on a frozen assessment rather than the assessment that the county assigns them for their taxes.
So they would collect, and then we would have to write them a check back.
That's my understanding of how Fort Mill has to do it, because the county said they can't do 2 different
Right,
assessments,
yeah.
Which makes sense. Or maybe Dorchester County could potentially do 2 different assessments. Likely, if they could, they would probably need some type of software upgrade to do that. So we probably have to pay for that software upgrade, that type of thing. But I haven't had a.
Well, how about let's verify that with the county before we.
I was just going to say, I haven't had that discussion with the county in terms of what that would entail should they choose not to move forward with the Bailey bill.
This is as far as we've gone in terms of researching until y'all make decisions whether or not. If you decide you want to move forward, and get into more of the logistical questions and issues and bring that information back to you.
But as Councilwoman said, most of the towns did say that it has been helpful for certain folks. I think Fort Mill said they have 1 or 2 a year that utilize it, even though they don't have the county participating. Beaufort does have the county participating, so I'm sure they probably have more applications. And it is interesting, apparently the county can choose which municipality to participate with, because Beaufort does have the county on board. However, the town of Bluffton, they adopted theirs later. And so I guess county council did not choose to participate when Bluffton adopted theirs. So they do not have the county on board. And they said it has not been a successful incentive for them because of that issue. So I think it varies.
Yeah. Anderson, I've got like 5 other emails. They all say it's been great for them.
Council members, any discussion on that item?
I think it's totally worth doing some more research and finding out more information especially if it would benefit some of our residents here.
Yeah, I guess the overarching goal of the Bailey bill is to encourage investment on historic or blighted property. And so that's something.
Property has to be at least 50 years old. I don't know if anybody
Yep.
mentioned that.
She did.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, it's typically written into the ordinance.
so it sounds like a pretty complicated
It's actually really
This-
simple.
discussion. Would someone want to give staff some guidance?
It sounds to me like county participation at some level is critical to this being successful. So I think if I were to make a recommendation, would be to approach the county to see what their appetite would be to maybe join us in this effort. I think it's a worthy ordinance, but we need some help from the county level.
I agree.
All right. Mr. Administrator?
I'll be
You
happy
wanna
to
reach
reach out
out
to
to-
Jason Ward and ask if he thinks that county council would be amenable to, at a minimum, talking about it. Just a few more details on the county participation. So their operating millage is 53.7 mills. Of course, with all of the other millages that they levy for debt, Trident Tech, which they wouldn't be able to forgive, senior center operations, capital improvements, the library, and the children in crisis, all told that's 79.4 mills. But if I had to guess, I would bet that they would, if they participate, they would only be willing to subject their operating millage, which is the 53.7 mills. So that would be 119.7 mills if you count our 66 mills. So if they participated on a $50,000 investment, it'd be $239.40 discount on the property tax for the new assessment. And then on a commercial building at $100,000 investment, it would be $718.20 per year, assuming that the millages stay static. So, and then you would multiply those annual discounts by the number of years that y'all would want to forgive it up to 20 years. So, but I'm happy to reach out to county administrators and see if he would be willing to have a discussion and move from there.
Thanks, sir.
I think that's worthy.
Item D, discussion on current employee health insurance policy, request by Mr. Halter.
Well,
Councilman.
yeah, I have questions, I guess, is the better way to phrase this about our current health and policy, particularly where it comes to prescription expenses. my recollection is that we were told that nothing would change with our health insurance other than the deductible and the out-of-pocket maximum. I don't believe we had any conversation about prescription medications. And then even after we went to the new health insurance, the prescription stayed the same and then jumped up in January. And I'm just trying to understand why that is.
So, if y'all recall, this chart here that we used during the budget discussion last year. And at the bottom here, I'll share this with y'all. Bottom of this chart shows the changes that were going to take place. Well, the entire chart shows all the changes that would take place across the program. The bottom is the changes that would occur in the prescription drug pricing. Tier 0 cost didn't change. Tier 1 increase was $15. Tier 2 was an increase of $75. Tier 3 was $150 increase over the existing what was the existing cost. And then Tier 4 was a 35% cost after the deductible was met. So these are the numbers that you all had with you during the discussion when we made the change last year. And this is also the same chart and the discussion that we had with the employees and the department heads on multiple occasions whenever we were making a change. So I know that there have been some cases where prescription drugs were being used by some employees or their families that were then not available under the new plan. But in those circumstances, when we were advised of them and had a chance to speak with the employee, we were able to make arrangements so that we could find that prescription that they need at a rate that they could afford. These are extraordinary expensive drugs that I'm talking about. It's not a case of, I take 6 pills a day and, each of them went up by $10. Well, that's $60. But the case I'm talking about is it went up by thousands and thousands of dollars over the course of the change. What we've also advised employees is to, and department heads, is to come to the HR staff and have those discussions with the HR staff so that we can work with Woodard and with benefit coordinators to try and find solutions to these issues. So if there's a specific problem that you all are hearing about, first, I would encourage you to encourage those employees to come and address that with the HR staff. And then if there are circumstances where we can help find a solution, then we're going to work to do that.
The biggest concern, I'll list the concerns that I'm hearing, and I would like for us to poll our employees, see if they're happy with the change, because in a lot of cases, I think they would have rather had an increase, a 13% increase in their insurance rather than the changes that we're seeing. So prescriptions are the number one concern I'm hearing. I can tell you, me personally, I had one particular prescription that was $35. Now it's $235. But we have employees who their impact is 10 times that.
Have they reached out to the HR staff with those concerns?
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
And in some cases, you have been able to help them. But
Okay.
So I will tell you my experience. First, I will say Laura Woodard with the Woodard Insurance has been amazing, phenomenal. We text each other. She's very quick to respond. She's on top of it. But she has not been able to help me. One of my medicines went from $50 to $400 for the month. And then we changed right in the time there. I had an oral and maxillofacial surgeon that I was, had been seeing and was going to get a procedure with that was previously covered, all of my visits. Then with the new insurance, they were no longer covered. And so I talked with her. She worked to try and get them approved, but the closest oral facial surgeon was then in Beaufort. So the surgery for the TMJ and all that, I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to drive to Beaufort to have this and then, have to go back and visit. And so, and she agreed. She didn't, really have anything she could do. She tried to get people approved, but they couldn't. They were previously approved under the old Blue Cross plan. That was my example. And then there was one staff member that said that the insurance wasn't as good.
I apologize. I was reading off the wrong column here. The dollar increases are on the right where it says changes. So no change for tier 0, no change for tier 1, $35 increase for tier 2, $80 increase for tier 3, and then tier 4 was the 35%.
So it seems like most of our issues are probably in that tier 4 category.
Right. That would be my guess as well. Yeah.
Okay, so prescriptions, providers not being covered. We have some employees who have had to change doctors or facing the possibility of having to change doctors. Is that something that can be worked out, or do they need to get a new doctor?
So the network should be substantially the same as I understand it. Chris, if you want to come up and talk a little bit about that.
Stated at the time of the change, when we moved to go to the new plan, was that one single family practice in the area was not going to be part of the network, was not going to be considered in network. That was the only one. And then 2 specialists in the area. That was all that was to change. Otherwise, it was almost an exact template of what our providers, our medical offices and carriers, our coverages were.
Well, I'll have this particular employee come see them because it would be an amazing coincidence if their doctor is the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, my family doctor's not, because it must be that one doctor.
When you say specialist, does that include like physical therapy?
I don't know that it would include physical therapy. That
I
was
received
more
a
of
phone call today and my physical therapist says, no, we no longer take your insurance.
Okay, all right. Well, please, I encourage, and even those of you on council who have experienced something, please reach out to me. Let me get more information from you. I know the overwhelming majority of those who have reached out to us, and in turn, Woodard, especially Laura, who is fantastic, have dug into the situation and remedied a great many of those that have come to us, including ones that were rather extreme prescription situations. So can't guarantee that everyone will be resolved, but at least if we could have a shot at it, because I think there are some that are not getting to us. And we'd like to at least dig into it and try. I will also say, because we won't be able to solve every single one, there are also situations that are beyond our control, and that's not a deflection, but I will tell you that as of the first of the year, and this is common at the start of each new calendar year, you see drug makers change and carriers, and a drug will go from being a tier 3, they reclassify it to a tier 4. And that's tough because it does significantly change the cost. But unfortunately, that's sort of across the board and applies to everyone. So anyway,
Yeah, and please don't take this as a criticism from council to staff,
Oh, no,
because
no.
we all made this decision together.
Sure.
But our job is to not only represent our taxpayers, but to represent our employees as well.
Absolutely.
So let me just continue some of the other issues that I'm hearing about. I'm hearing that chiropractors are no longer covered. They do, however, get reimbursed, but it doesn't count toward their deductible. Is that accurate or not accurate?
I don't think that's accurate. Yeah, we do still have chiropractic coverage. Why don't I send you the exact description of the coverage? It has changed from our previous plan, but we still do have chiropractic coverage.
And then another concern I'm hearing is that that Walgreens absolutely does not take our insurance anymore.
That is essentially correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was something that we discussed with y'all and with the staff on multiple occasions. So that should not have come as a surprise. But and this is part of the struggle that we're actually addressing right now at a staff level, is to disseminate information about the healthcare plan to all the employees, and then have somebody within each department who they can trust or respect to relay these concerns back to us if the employee here himself or herself doesn't want to come to HR. And so those are things, the communication gap is something that we're trying to fill so that we don't have these kinds of issues or questions amongst the staff.
And I do direct them to HR whenever possible. I want to take it a step further and actually invite our employees to come either to their department head or directly to HR with very specific concerns that certainly I cannot answer for them. But and maybe it's a situation where it's just a learning curve. I don't know, but the loss of doctors, the loss of a specific pharmacy, prescription drugs mean exponentially more expensive some cases, is very concerning to us. And we spent a lot of time at our budget retreat talking about employee retention, and these are some of the issues that would cause an employee to go find another employer.
Well, and I'll remind everybody, and you remember one of the reasons that we explored this was in an effort to try and keep the increases to a minimum, so that we didn't have to pass along increased costs to the employee in terms of premium. So going to this plan allowed you all to keep their 100% employee coverage at no cost to them, and then also to continue that family coverage up to 82% in some cases. So the only increase that they are facing are some of these that we're talking about now. And then of course, the savings that we're going to hopefully experience as a result of the change is what we're going to use to seed the clinic, which is something that employees have been asking for a while. So, it's a balancing act between keeping the employees whole on the premium increase side or not, or you're squeezing the balloon on one end and it gets bigger on the other, but we're trying to keep the squeeze as small as possible.
Understood. And again, we all made this decision together. Yep, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If I could I'm sorry, I just wanted to add on also, and I think this gets overlooked to some extent, and I know that every single person doesn't max out their deductible or their maximum out of pocket. But to let you know, the deductibles change such that the deductibles on an individual basis are $500 less than our previous, and family is $1,000 less a year. In addition, and I should say last plan year, we had 155 people max out their deductible. So that's a significant number of people that will save significantly. On top of that, we had another 55 that went maximum out of pocket. And that savings on an individual basis is $2,500 this year over our previous plan. And on a family level of coverage is $5,000 less. So that is significant additional saving for many people, many employees, on top of those other than employee only not having their premium go up for the first time in 7 to 8 years on top of that. So just some additional.
Thank you for that.
And you made a good point, Councilman Halter, that the learning curve is still pretty steep for everybody. I mean, we've only been doing this since October, and employees have to do their part to get some of these deductibles and the co-insurance back. So, but that's why we're trying to continue to educate and close that communication gap.
So are we locked into this for a year, 5 years, 3 years? What is our term with us?
Yeah, just 1 year at a time.
Right. So if come December of this year, we still find that there's significant issues, we have the option to make a change.
We would have to start making plans to make a change. In the fall. Yeah, in the fall. Yeah,
Yeah.
by I would say we would need to start doing that late August, early September for sure.
Can we make a plan to poll our employees? Maybe I'm just hearing from a handful of ones who have a significant issue and everybody else is fine, in which case we're fine. But if there are issues that,
What
let's,
do we,
let's,
what do we want to ask?
well, I think that's really kind of an open-ended question because everyone's going to have different issues with this. Do we want to ask them, do you have any specific concerns about our current policy? If so, what are they?
Okay.
What kind of participation do we get typically on our surveys? Is there a way we can make sure, I was looking at Amy and thinking about the Parks and Rec team who may have some similar concerns, but may not feel as comfortable doing like an online survey that comes over email.
Well, again, that's where we're trying to find somebody in each department that employee can go to and confide in and say, and not necessarily the manager or their supervisor.
Yeah.
It could be a one of their colleagues in the department that they can go and talk to, who would then bring that information back to Chris and his staff.
These engagement liaisons that Jeff is putting together right now, that part of I like to reach large numbers of folks and be able to see that.
And that's something y'all are just starting now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're soliciting volunteers
Process of.
in the departments right now.
So are y'all hearing negative feedback yourself? I mean, I know y'all said you are a little bit, but,
Department managers.
I was talking to, yeah. Yeah.
Chief has.
Yeah, right. Right.
They're doing what they're asked. Well, Spock was on the internet, I had to tell them to shut it down.
Did a survey before they kind of took over, before we sign this, and I'm sure they'll want to kind of repeat that anyhow during the year or something like to kind of monitor what's going on.
As I used to say, there's a few things firemen don't like, changing the way things are. So this is new for us. So, it's, I
And let
know
me just,
it's something that, yeah, sorry, no, go ahead.
let me just close by saying again, that this is not a criticism of staff. This is a decision that was wholly made by this council, and I own that. But if we did make a bad decision for our employees, I want to know that as well.
Sure. Absolutely. And again, that's why we encourage them to come and tell us. Because if we don't know about an issue, we can't help them.
Yes, sir.
So that's where we are. Okay.
And to summarize what I heard up here, not that you need that, we really care about the employees that serve our citizens. And I know you do as well. So tell us how we can help. Okay?
Yeah. As Councilman Halter said, continue to encourage, if they reach out to you, tell them, please call HR. I mean, that's the first phone call they need to make.
All right, we'll turn it over to you, sir. for
Okay,
your
real
report.
quickly, got one announcements, a sad announcement that I need to make for you. Our HR manager, Chris Grant, has announced that he is going to retire effective April 24th. After a number of years with the town, he is mixed emotionally about retiring, but good for him. We are going to post for his position tomorrow, starting tomorrow, in a number of different outlets to solicit interviewees. We hope to close that solicitation period by the end of this month. I would ambitiously like to try and get interviews and a potential recommendation to you for hire by the March council meeting. That's going to be very aggressive. However, I would expect we would be able to certainly have somebody to put in front of you at our March budget meeting, which would be obviously a special meeting. So we'll have that time, because what I would like to do is have the candidate, who obviously would have to give a notice of some kind to their current employer, would like for that person to work with Chris for at least 2 to 3 weeks before he departs, for as brief not a brief, as long a transition period as we can possibly get, but hopefully no fewer than 2 or 3 weeks. So just to make that announcement. Thank you,
No.
Chris, for your service to the town, but we
Yes,
know
sir.
you're around
Thank
for the
you.
next little while.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
My hope is that in preparation for the conversation we just had, it did make his decision easier.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. He and I had a conversation a few weeks ago, and I asked him, hey, what's your plan? And he came back a couple of weeks, and I was like, well, gosh, I hope my conversation didn't imply that I wanted you to leave. And he fortunately said that was not the case. And then an announcement, our own Chris Mikowski, our public information officer, was a recent recipient of the Somerville Dorchester County Chamber of Commerce's Emerging Leaders Award. So he got dressed up all nice and fancy and got a really nice plaque. So your staff continues to shine across the state and here locally, and you should all be very proud of that. So that is all I have. Anybody got any questions for me about anything that I spoke about or did not talk about?
Outstanding work, Chris Mikowski. Appreciate you for what you do for the town. It was awesome watching you get that award. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I move we entered executive session to discuss personnel matter related to town administration.
Second.
Second that.
All right, motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter related to town administration. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're in executive session.